Welcome to Mindboost Moments, a podcast for those who want to hear from like-minded people and how they're making a dent in the world. So join me on my continued journey of learning and discovery. I'm pleased to be joined today by James Bailey, who's the estate manager at Brookes Mill in Huddersfield, a former woolen mill with a history that goes back to 1541. James is aiming to create a community of like-minded people and businesses who, like him, deeply appreciate the heritage and future opportunities of the location he's currently custodian of. This is Mindboost Moments. I often think about the heritage of your of Brookes Mill. I struggled to get my head around 1541. I mean, that, you know, if it's not really clear, that's a long time ago. And what an amazing thing, actually, that is still operating, but you want to make it a sort of a centre of excellence where people gravitate towards to like-minded people and businesses. And I guess, you know, what an amazing thing to go, I'm going to work in this, you know, the what is it, Britain's or what, the world's oldest recorded business?
Well, I think it's certainly Britain's oldest family business. Now, I don't know. It could well be beyond that. That's maybe a challenge to anyone listening in to challenge that theory and find an older business. There is, to be fair, there is an older UK business down in Cornwall. Was a bakery.
Right.
It's not strictly a family business. So to be absolutely clear, we're Britain's oldest family business, and, you know, still within the original ownership. So Mark Brook, who is the current owner, is 19th generation.
Wow.
Going all the way back. And, you know, what I really like, you know, when you go for an interview and it's about you, part of it is you testing the company as well as them sort of testing you. And there was a real sense of trying to create a family environment here on the back of being a family business. And, you know, I genuinely do think we do loads to sort of support the businesses. And there's a load of opportunities to do a load more as well.
Yeah.
I think some of that will come out in today's chat. So yeah, it's a really exciting opportunity, and it's the ultimate test for me is on a Sunday. Coming to work doesn't even cross my mind. Whereas in previous jobs, you've got that, you know, that dreaded Sunday feeling.
Yeah.
With you know, it's almost songs of praise or Antiques Roadshow becomes an attractive distraction almost. You know, sorry for anyone who likes that, but for me, I really love coming to work. I love the variety of what we do, and I love the scale of the opportunity here. So that makes a massive difference.
And I mean, I often talk about that Sunday night feeling. I really struggle. Sunday nights or Monday mornings look different or feel different to everyone, and that, you know, and that's right. But I do struggle to imagine, you know, why you wouldn't want to think, I'm going to make a difference here. I'm going to go to wherever you know, work, or I'm going to go to my employer to do something and feel really enthused about it. And there's little stopping that from happening, really, if we all want to make it happen.
I think so. I think it's sometimes if what you walk into is just a broken system. So, you know, I've done jobs where, you know, I think it leads back to some of what we talked about earlier. You know, if you're going to carry on doing the same thing, you're going to experience the same outcomes. And it's completely demoralising for people because you can just see the car crash about to happen and repeat Groundhog Day over and over and over again. And the beauty of what I love here is actually something happens, we stop, reflect, and do something which changes it, and it's about that continuous improvement. You know, we change, and we're a small team, so we all get on, I think, pretty well. You know, we're completely different characters, and certainly have different views and opinions on stuff. But actually, what's clear is we all want the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, so on that on a regular night or morning, what is it that then excites you or makes you fizz with energy? You know, what's the thing that that James thinks, "Oh, I cannot wait to do that."
Well, I think for me, it's almost the journey into the unknown, because I just don't know what my days. I probably now have 3 or 4 meetings in my diary, so I actually don't know what's going to pop up during the day, which is so that's something which is the unexpected. So for me, the idea of working behind a bank counter where you're just processing the same thing, the way that I'm wired, that's completely not helpful.
Yeah.
What I also love is the variety of what I do means I can focus my time doing kind of what I want to do, because my role is so varied. So it might be, some procedural or health and safety system stuff. But if my mind's not kind of feeling that day, I can get in and sort of put a load of stuff from our business partners, or there might be some physical work to be done. So I can really mix and mash my day according to what it is. But
Yeah.
I think ultimately it's people, that really kind of excites me, whether it's our contract partners who support us on site and do an amazing job, our business partners, members of the public. There's so many interesting and skilled people in what they do.
Yeah.
And also I think it's interesting how they energize you as well. So I wouldn't mind saying this to the person, but one of our business partners wasn't sure about him when I first joined, and I had a really nice chat with him yesterday, and he can see what we're trying to achieve and is really bought in, and he was grateful for some support where we've basically managed to connect the local authority into him. He's going to get some funding to help his business, and he's like, I can see what you're doing. I wish others had a kind of more faith or would get on the journey a bit quicker.
Yeah.
And that's all I needed, actually, because it was like a good. But my comment to him was, well, either me and you are mad and everyone else isn't, or the other way around. I think sure enough in time, all you need is some positive stories, and then people will latch on to that, and then we'll sort of join the journey, if you like, of
and I think sometimes you've got to lead that journey as well, haven't you? You've got to paint the picture so people can see it, because I'm just reflecting on, sitting behind a bank counter is not your bag, because you crave lots of different things in a day. But maybe the people behind a bank counter like some of that stability, but they would also probably say, we don't know what we're going to get in a day. And that's actually what I really enjoy. It's just a different environment now. But if someone came in and painted them a completely different picture, their first response is, I'm all right doing what I'm doing. I've been doing it for X amount of years, but it really needs selling to some people, doesn't it? And I think that's where you've got that vision of saying, this is what I can see happening. This is what I want to create in this place. And sometimes it's just bringing a lot of colour to that. And then, hopefully the dominoes will start falling with other people going, I love it. Yeah, I love your idea.
Yeah. I think it's also interesting just all the human stories that are going on around. You get real insight into people's lives. There's only 200 people. So, in the last week, someone's become a dad. Someone's had to go on holiday with their mum because the mum's friend's not being able to make it. I was offering a bit of guidance in terms of mortgage renewals to somebody yesterday. So you have all this peripheral stuff. I did say to Mark, we came up with the term Brookside yesterday, which is there's sort of all of the the people stories which
I'm just thinking of that fly through video. That would look amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's, it's all of these people who all have their own story to tell. And I think what I really love about here is as well, everyone here is here by choice.
Yeah.
And most people, I think very few examples where people have chosen to leave here. There's, you always get circumstances. So we lost a really nice company who also by a European company was sort of stripping out sort of regional sub-offices. So you can't do nothing about that. It's not that we've done something, we just hacked that person off to make them leave.
Yeah.
So that's something I really, that goes way before my time. There must be some essence in the brand or what's being created here that makes people want to stay, because there's loads of office spaces.
When you say it's the people that excite you and their stories, again, I'm just reflecting. Some people will go, I just don't want to get tied up in people's conversations and their business. But that is what we're designed to do. It's human connection. It's understanding. It's empathizing. It's, it's listening. Is that something that you have always enjoyed, or is it something that you've sort of, stepped into as you've sort of gotten a little bit older?
It's something I've always been interested in, and probably goes back to our founding days at the hospital. You have a load of people, a lot of people with all sorts of interesting backgrounds and unique circumstances, which, you think some of the human stories which came out of that place, and that's probably for another chat one day. I think it's just actually just spending the time to listen.
Yeah.
Is the really important thing, and there is definitely a community here, and there's more that we can do and more that will happen to make it better, a better place. I think I've always enjoyed it. I think it's I don't think there's anything that would shock us. I think anybody could tell me anything, and nothing would shock me anymore, because
I think people pick up on that as well, don't they? So there's a reason why, it's not just one conversation in the corridor and that's it. There's multiple conversations that are happening all the time, because, that's the vibe that you give off. But also people pretty quickly go, he's listening to me. He's taking note. He's understanding. He's helping.
Yeah, I think and sometimes there's not a lot you can do. People just want to tell you. Yeah. Or it might be something that people are really proud of. But it's, I think, the sort of variety of the week that we have, we've gone from supporting a choir event to help funding for refugees in a couple of weeks' time to an hour later looking at a students' art installations. We've got a specialist school on site to support children with additional learning requirements. And again, I'll say this to Sonia, who runs the school. I don't mind admitting this. I went in with a pretty low expectation, but was really blown away with the quality of the work and stuff that had been done. It kind of made me question myself. I felt a bad person for a few minutes afterwards, because I'd sort of prejudged a situation. But that's the beauty of this place. It's so the variety is incredible, and then the next thing you'll be dealing with the builder, who's maybe got some challenges of his own going on, or wants to tell you his own personal story. It's not all bad stuff. There's nice things going on as well. Yeah, and I think it's just genuinely being interested, isn't it? It's about making a connection for you.
I think so, and I think what we're also talking about is how that helps build teams, build morale. And I think, if you feel like you're in a safe space with someone who's going to listen to you and not judge you, and let's face it, we don't get it right all the time. But if we also, sort of reevaluate ourselves once we've had a conversation and keep reflecting on that, and you genuinely enjoy that, then most people sort of pick up on that pretty quickly and go, this is a good place to be. And I guess what I'm also hearing is that, so we've got people and we've got the site that you're operating, that you're managing. And, that, I suppose those two things combined is where the magic is almost happening in Brookes Mill, isn't it? That you've got this historic place and some outstanding people. Now, when you get that together, then you've got a definite mission there.
Yeah, I think so, and I think there's also an acceptance. I have a massive respect for all of the businesses here. They're typically all, 90% of the people who work here are small businesses, probably employing less than 5 people. Now, these businesses have all grown organically, And I don't mean this in any kind of disrespectful way, but there's going to be bits which they're really strong about running businesses, and there's going to be bits which they're weaker on, whether that's finance or HR. And it's really interesting sometimes when you get somebody come and talk to you and sort of say, this has happened. What do you think? And almost ask for a bit of advice. Now, I think that's what I'd like to see, is probably a bit more structured advice and support being available for these businesses, because I think if you look at the economy and the way that things are going, I think you're going to see less larger corporates. Clearly, there's also that place, but I think more and more people with this desire to have more influence over how they lead their life and what work style they pick. I think small businesses are going to become more and more attractive. But I think for them to prosper and grow, they've got to have the vast support network around them. So I think it's a really interesting time for us to, the next stage of the Brookes Mill journey, really, I think is.
And is that? Do you think that's connecting more with a local community? Like, I'm just thinking, because I've been out to Brookes Mill, and I get it. I get the vibe, and I'm a sort of an hour and a half away, and you're thinking, you almost want to recreate that. So I'm making an assumption here that it's, it's got a lot of local heritage, and is it mainly local businesses that you also want to, create that modern heritage as well?
Yeah, I think it's it is virtually all small local SMEs.
Yeah.
Or you sometimes get a sub office, but of a larger corporate, like a sort of regional office. But I think that's what I like, because everyone has a sort of connection back to the immediate area.
Yeah.
You'd like to think the majority of people want to almost look after the place and treat it in the right way with the respect that it deserves.
Yeah.
And then broadly speaking, everybody does. And that's what I think it makes it quite a special place. And I think we have got a little bit of momentum around positive change. I think around that base, and then people can see improvements going on, and there's good reasons why some of those things, they could be not necessarily new ideas, but just got the energy or capacity to do them at the minute. And I think people see positive change, and then I think that makes them feel better about, it's a bit like a football team, isn't it? You want to be part of what's going on. You want to see new signings being made, and you want to see the stands being painted, and you want to see better connection to the local community and all of those things. And that's probably the wrong analogy, but that's what we're trying to create here. And ultimately, for us to attract new businesses, the most powerful way of doing that is through word of mouth.
Yeah.
And it's almost that, being technical, that net promoter score, and people saying, what would they say about us and would they recommend us? And we get a lot of inquiries through that.
Yeah.
And again, we've come up with an incentive on that. We try and, rather than paying agents, we'll give the existing businesses a chip if they recommend someone. So
and people generally act on recommendations, and they also, buy into people rather than this big business idea. So I think your energy to think about, I love talking to people, and I love understanding their stories, and it doesn't take too long for other businesses to go, I'll get yourself over to Brookes Mill, have a chat with James because he can help you out around different stuff. And I think that's where then the power comes, because then if you've got lots of businesses that are of a similar mindset and see that picture that you've painted for them, that community becomes really powerful then, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so, and I think there's some incredible businesses here, and I think there's some exciting. We've got a couple of really exciting businesses joining in July and August, and all sorts of new things. But I'm kind of thinking, why didn't I think of that? It's a brilliant business idea. So I'm really excited about getting them on board. And I think in some ways, I think they'll be really energized about what we are, and kind of add that. If anything, our biggest challenges were a bit of a hidden gem. you know, I think because we're just off one of the main roads, we're in this just on a village, the edge of the village, you know, beautiful location. And I think in some ways we've not been proud enough about what we are, what we stand for. So we're kind of in the process of refreshing our image, whether that's our website, whether that's social media, whether that's how we present ourselves and all of that. So it's an exciting task to carve what we're.
And that, I'm just reflecting, right? So Brookes Mill as a business, the you know, you say it's over 480 years old, right? What's the thought process then of what that business, that site looks like in another 480 years?
Well, interestingly, I'm pretty confident it'll still be in family ownership. You know, that's one thing I'd be really confident about. I think it's an amazing story actually about the resilience of the buildings and, you know, how they've stood the test of time. It's not quite the Egyptian pyramids, but I think what was built now and how it was built, you'd probably struggle to recreate with the craftsman. You know, the craftsmanship. So, yeah, I'd love to see it as a thriving community in its own right. And I think we're only 60% of the way through with the estate as well, so we've still got 40% to determine kind of what direction that goes in. So we're always looking to the future, and we always try and, one of the things I really like about working for Mark is we try and do things differently. So we don't do what every other redundant mill has done, which is basically just turn into residential apartments and sort of gentrifying the space. There is a real connection and commitment back, rather than it just being a sort of transactional, commercial, you know, based decision. So,
and that's what's going to make it a special place, right? Just not a functional place, but a real special place.
Yeah. Well, if you think about, the mill used to employ in its peak sort of 300 or 400 people who all lived probably within a couple of 100 meters. Here is the reality. There's some amazing artwork going back to the 1800s and 1900s, and
photos and stories.
Yeah. And I think that for me is keeping it alive. And Mark described the other day about the businesses coming in and being part of the family. You know, those sort of principles and ethics are still there.
Yeah.
And
I guess there is extended family then, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how he sees it. What's always nice is we'll always try and think out of the box or find a way to help people. Or it would be wrong of me to sort of declare how much support goes on, but some of the things we do for people are not commercial decisions, but doing things on the right, for the right reason.
Yeah.
You know, and you wouldn't get that in the corporate world.
No,
just simply wouldn't get it.
You'd sign your contract with your landlord, and they go, "Thanks for your money every year or month."
That's it.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, and I think what you get is it's a term I use often. It was a credit this to the head of procurement at Tesco's, where he said, you know, you might win the battle, but you're not going to win the war. You know, and we could hold someone to account on a license or a lease, and, you know, be a couple of £1,000 better off for that short period of time. But, you know, the first opportunity they've got to break or leave, or
they will,
you know, are they going to be saying nice things about? Exactly, remember down the pub. They're not going to be saying, you should go to Brookes Mill and start your business there.
Yeah, and I actually over where I am near Hull, we've got a small business incubator called C4DI that is similar. You know, it was designed for digital startups to be in the same space, and again, it was a community vibe. And that's, I've got fond memories of being there, and I've got fond memories from the start because it was that community supporting each other, really. And then as you grow, you know that you can pass that information on to other people and support their businesses grow as well. So I really get it. And it's after being out to the site, I've sort of come home reflecting. It's a shame that it's, an hour and a half down the motorway for me, really, because it's an amazing location. You know what? Sorry, James, carry on.
Yeah, well, there was just one thing I was going to say as well, just on that family theme a little bit as well. You know, in life, you go through periods of expansion, or maybe you've had your kids, or I don't know, then you maybe have a relationship breakdown, and you're moving out and you're contracting, and that's life at the mill really for businesses, where we've seen businesses grow and take that next step, and then maybe 3 months later they're knocking on the door saying, we can't afford our space, we need to put our belt in. And we've always been able to help those sort of businesses and be flexible with them. And again, it goes back to that buying loyalty, and that term we often use it's about the long-term relationship. It's not about the next 3 or 6 months. And I think it probably ties back into that sort of family theme about looking after people. And the parents might not be pleased that son's moving back in for a period of time, or that it's what you do, is that you help people out, and it will come right in the long term.
My brain has gone into overload now with ideas of a soap opera called Life at the Mill, and it's a fly on the wall documentary from Amazon, and it follows the exploits of James cultivating the mill.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, why not? Yeah, be Clarkson's farm. It's with some character, but there is some amazing, as there always is everywhere I've ever worked. You get characters and people stick in your mind, and it's interesting. The majority of people I don't really see outside of work here, albeit interesting. I like on my regular dog walk, I think I walk past 5 of the businesses' front doors, which shows probably how tightly knit the community is. But regard the majority of them as friends, even though which is a really nice place to be. That enjoy the company. We're always a pleasure to talk to, and you have a laugh and joke about different things, and there's some genuinely amazing people here. And that just makes life so much,
of course, it
so
does.
much more interesting, doesn't it?
Not only for you, but for them as well.
Hopefully. That part of the walk could be quite revealing, actually, thinking about it.
Yeah. What the other thing I want to know then. So, what do you think your superpower is? What do you bring to the party all the time?
I think my superpower is being able to be resilient about what the end cause is, because you get a load of knocks on the way. And I think I mentioned it earlier, but the best analogy is probably opening a shopping centre. Now, if you had 1 million staff, you could never do everything that you have to do by the letter of the law before you open. And you're reliant on a load of people doing the best job they conceivably can and putting in way more. They're not putting in 40 hours, they're putting in 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week. And I think the ability to really sort of energize that team and make it happen, I think is one. And then I think the second, I'm going to go for 2 actually. The second I think is
you've got 2 suits to wear.
2 suits to wear. Yeah, I think the second is connecting people. And actually listening and trying to find a way of helping people. So it was really nice for me. I've been quite persistent with the local authority about economic support and SMEs and how to support that. And the sad thing is, loads of that support is out there, but you're sort of wading through treacle to try and find it. So made a really good contact, 2 good contacts called Andrew Sharp and Mark Gill, please. And it appears we've got a first seat of support for an SME. And, people are really dismissive of local authorities. It's a really difficult job to do. Lots of people to keep happy, and people will always have an opinion on whether it's local politics or where money should be spent, or you get it. So I think the ability to sort of try and connect people, and it's not just about business, whether it's community type functions, kind of help people out, really, I suppose.
And do you think that's because you've got a passion for understanding people and talking to people, that you then have those little light bulb moments and go, you ought to speak to so-and-so, and there's another conversation. I was just having that chat.
Yeah. It's been interesting, even with, so I mentioned it earlier, we've just opened the school. So Sonia's done an amazing job opening Fabril House. This is the specialist school on site. But we've got some amazing businesses on site who can get directly involved. So we've got Taylor, we've got a dance school, we've got an art school, we've got a pottery school, we've got, you know, an independent cafe operator who does some amazing stuff. Like I was down at his allotment yesterday, and he was showing me proudly his homegrown produce, and you know the school have got an allotment net. So I think all of these things have always existed, but I think they've always almost met each other by chance. I think now we can be a little bit more structured in helping to understand what all these businesses are, who they all are, and how they might be able to help each other.
I was talking to another someone else on the podcast a little while ago about skills as well. And actually, if we were to understand the hidden skills that people have got, it would also open up a lot of those opportunities as well. Because those your chef in your cafe, you know, loves growing produce, but actually, you know, you might not uncover that hidden skill unless you really were connected with people. And similarly, there might be, you know, kids in the school that are going, I want to understand where this food comes from, or, you know, the teacher's trying to influence that and stuff. You know, it's sometimes those conversations that are just chats that open up the bigger opportunities.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We did it once with languages. I think it was in Bristol, where I asked all the team just to write down all the languages. And we had about 90 languages or some crazy number.
Wow.
And you think, if that's some service provision, you know, which we would have never have known or never have guessed. I'd probably said about 6 or 8, maybe. You know, it was incredible. I think you're right. You know, one of the business partners here suggested about doing a mentoring scheme. So, you know, if there's something they're particularly strong on, maybe that's a skill, you know, like I said earlier, that they're all small businesses and not only brilliant for everything, but there's a way that they can all help each other.
Yeah.
And I think the other interesting thing is the hobbies that people have. So, you know, one of the business partners here has got is really into photography and does some amazing stuff, and he's asked if he can do an exhibition up in the gallery. Now, I don't think he'd have that opportunity or would have thought to have asked us if he wasn't a business here.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping, you know, that this might be one of his lifetime ambitions. You know, and what a cool thing to be able to support somebody with, you know, and everybody wins, don't they? We get an exhibition. He's really proud of his work. And actually what we do is cement a little bit of loyalty as well, where he sort of thinks, do you know what? They went above and beyond me.
I think there's something really powerful, though, that we're not really latching onto there, is that, so a superpower could be that you connect people, but it's more about why are you connecting people as well. And if the underriding, you know, objective to that is that you constantly want to see opportunities to elevate them and to support people grow, then that really is something powerful. But if you just want, you know, chit chat and conversation and you don't really listen, it's never going to amount to anything. And so you've just struck on a really important point there about opening doors, offering opportunities, and people feeling really comfortable to be able to ask for support as well. That, you know, even if you can't directly give them that support, you can connect them with someone who's of a similar mindset, because most people that are in that mindset will say, I'm more than happy to help.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of, if you ask anyone for help, normally they'll give it to you, won't they? If you're in a position to. So, and I think it goes back, I think probably a challenge for all local authorities really is how they try and streamline their offering to make it easier to understand. You know, so here we've got Kirklees Business Support, then you've got Kirklees Council, then you've got the West Yorkshire Combined Authority, then you've got local MP. You know, you've got all of this myriad of, then you've got different sort of working groups and parties, some of them. So there's a whole, you know, I've just got, you know, complicated washing machine of organisations, and sometimes But now what I've got is a few people I can pick up the phone and say, look, I need to speak to somebody about this.
What's the best way to do it?
Yeah. Who is it? Yeah. How do we move this forward? And that saves me hours of work.
Yeah. And that's why that's your superpower, and, lean into it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And most people want to make somewhere better. That's my experience is whether you work for the council, whether you work for, you're a commercial entity, whether you're a local resident, it's in everyone's interest, isn't it, to make it a better place?
Yeah, and especially, you've got the weight of nearly 500 years of heritage to try and also maintain that and improve that.
Yeah. Well, it does sometimes. It's a little bit daunting sometimes, and I think it's about. Well, we've just changed park. I don't know when you visited, but we've just changed parking arrangements on site. And one thing that I've had to do in life is change parking arrangements, and it's one of the most emotive things in the world, and it always has been and always will be. And sometimes it doesn't matter how you deliver the message. It's a message that people don't want to deliver and don't want to sort of hear or understand. But again, I think I'm really proud of how we've done that, because actually we've had a couple of sort of minor grievances around it, but I'd say 95% of people have been sort of compliant, which generally means we understand what we're trying to achieve. And they're almost taking one for the team a little bit, because we're making it better for the overall mill environment rather than just being, having a very selfish objective. So
they can see the picture you're painting.
Well, yeah. Hopefully it's about, you can't just change things without telling people why you want to change it or what you're trying to achieve. And
maybe that's what they did 500 years ago, but hopefully not in a modern workplace.
Yeah, maybe I should take some inspiration from the past. But I think we've talked about this in the past. I think you have to sort of focus on the people who are positive and kind of behind you, and then you get the people who are a bit more passive in the middle, probably travelling with you. Whereas if you focus on the more challenging people, you're probably going to create a more negative environment. So that's probably been one of my biggest takeaways in life.
Hey, I've absolutely loved our chat, James. Thank you so much for joining me.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
If people want to connect with you or find out a bit more about what you're doing at Brookes Mill, what's the best way? Yeah,
best thing to do is come and talk to me and I'll buy you a coffee. How about that? Mobile number 07398529545, or drop me a line on LinkedIn, James Bailey.
This has been Mindboost Moments. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to hear more, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. And if you want to learn how Mindboost can really add feeling and emotion to learning experiences within your business, check out our website at mindboostlearning.com.